If I could hand you a simple 30-day plan that could transform your habits, rebuild your confidence, and completely change the direction of your life, would you take it? Because most people wouldn't. Not because it doesn't work, but because it requires discipline. And discipline, my friend, is the rarest currency of success. Let me tell you something that might sting a little. You don't need another motivational video. You don't need another book, another plan, or another person to push you. What you need is a system of discipline. Because it's not motivation that changes your life. It's the small, consistent disciplines practiced daily. Every person you admire today didn't wake up successful. They built systems. They built habits. They built character through the daily grind of doing what most people refuse to do. So, if you've ever asked yourself, how do I become consistent? Or, why can't I stick to my goals? Then stay right here. Because over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through a 30-day discipline blueprint, a training program that can help you reset your life, your habits, and your future. You'll discover how to rebuild your self-trust, create momentum that doesn't depend on motivation, and develop the inner strength that separates dreamers from doers. But here's the catch. It only works if you commit for 30 days. 30 days that could define the next 10 years of your life. So don't miss a word of what comes next, because what you're about to hear isn't theory. It's a system, a blueprint, a practical path for anyone ready to take control again. Discipline begins with one simple but profound decision to make a promise to yourself and to honor it no matter what. It's not about perfection, and it's not about doing everything right. It's about learning to trust yourself again. Because the truth is, every time you break a promise to yourself, something inside you weakens. It's almost invisible at first. You say you'll start waking up earlier, but you hit the snooze button. You say you'll start reading every day, but tomorrow always feels more convenient. You tell yourself this week you'll be different, but by midweek, the fire is gone. And every time that happens, you teach your subconscious one dangerous message: my word doesn't mean much. That's the real damage, not the missed action, but the erosion of self-trust. The first step in this 30-day blueprint is to rebuild that trust one small victory at a time, not with grand resolutions or dramatic goals, but with small, undeniable actions that prove to your own mind that you are dependable. The size of the act doesn't matter. It could be something as simple as drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning or making your bed before you leave the room. The goal isn't to impress anyone. It's to reestablish your credibility with yourself. Because if you don't believe your own word, no external motivation, no mentor, no book can help you move forward. The mind must first learn that when you say something, it's as good as done. See, success doesn't come to those who are smarter or more talented. It comes to those who can rely on their own commitment. When you become a person of your word, you start moving through life differently. You stop negotiating with excuses, you stop delaying your goals, and you start commanding your own respect. And that's the quiet power of discipline. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, but it builds something solid within you. A kind of inner authority that says, I do what I say I'll do. But here's what most people get wrong. They think discipline is about pushing harder when they fail. But true discipline is about designing your environment so that success becomes easier. If you want to keep your promises, make them visible, make them specific, and make them achievable. Don't say, I'll exercise more. Say, I'll walk 10 minutes every morning. Don't say, I'll eat better. Say, I'll cook one healthy meal today. The mind resists vague ideas, but it cooperates with clarity. That's how you begin to regain control. Not by shouting at yourself for what you didn't do, but by setting up a system where following through feels natural. Every day you complete one of these small acts, you send a signal to your brain, I'm reliable, I'm capable, I'm disciplined. That signal becomes stronger with repetition until eventually it replaces doubt with belief. The human mind thrives on evidence, not emotion. So, give it evidence. Give it proof that you're serious this time. Don't talk about the big transformation you want. Just do the small, consistent acts that lead there. Because the truth is, discipline is rarely dramatic. It's found in the tiny choices, the quiet follow-throughs, the moments when nobody's watching. Think about how you feel when you tell someone you'll do something, and then you actually do it. There's a quiet confidence, a sense of strength that grows inside. Now imagine feeling that every day, not because of others, but because of yourself. That's what this first phase of the blueprint is all about. It's about turning that feeling into a habit. Once you start honoring your own word, you start seeing possibilities differently. You stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "What would it take?" That subtle shift changes your entire psychology, because self-trust is the foundation of self-mastery. You can't build wealth, health, or happiness without it. People try to stack goals on top of insecurity and then wonder why everything collapses. It's because they're trying to build a castle on sand. Discipline, the kind that lasts, comes from building on rock, on integrity. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you're laying another brick on that foundation. Skip a day, and you don't start over from zero. You simply remind yourself why that brick matters. This is not about guilt, it's about awareness. It's about knowing that every decision either strengthens your character or weakens it, and you get to choose which direction you're heading. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. The mind loves the familiar, even if the familiar is unhealthy. When you begin practicing discipline, you'll face resistance. You'll hear the voice that says, "You've done enough," or "You can skip just one day." That voice has destroyed more dreams than failure ever will. But now, you're aware of it. You can catch it. You can smile at it and still do what you said you'd do. Because discipline is not about silencing the voice, it's about acting despite it. The real strength is not in the absence of temptation, but in the refusal to surrender to it. In the first week of your 30-day journey, your only goal is to collect small wins. Don't try to conquer your entire life. Just aim to prove to yourself that you can follow through. Every small win is a vote for your new identity. You're casting votes for the version of you who doesn't quit, who follows through, who keeps their word. Over time, those votes accumulate, and your self-image begins to shift. You start identifying as a disciplined person, not because someone told you, but because you have evidence that it's true. And that's the moment when life starts cooperating with you. Because when you move with discipline, opportunities begin to open. People begin to trust you more. Circumstances seem to align. But it's not magic, it's alignment. You're finally acting in harmony with your own values. The inside and outside begin to match. You're no longer living in conflict between what you say and what you do. And that inner harmony, that integrity, gives you peace of mind. It gives you energy that no caffeine or motivation video could ever match. So for the next 30 days, treat your word as sacred. Don't make big promises. Make small ones and keep them with absolute commitment. Every morning, ask yourself, what's one promise I can make and keep today? Not 10, not 5, 1. Because the power of discipline is not in quantity, but in quality. It's not about how many things you do. It's about the integrity behind what you do. When your word begins to mean something again, everything else in your life starts to shift naturally. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't seek attention, it seeks consistency. And the people who master it don't live a louder life, they live a steadier one. They become calm in chaos, firm in doubt, and clear in confusion. Because they know they can depend on themselves. They've proven it in small, quiet moments, long before the world noticed. That's the real foundation of discipline, not perfection, but proof. Proof that you are capable of honoring your own word, day after day, even when it's hard, even when nobody sees, even when it feels like progress is invisible. That's where character is built. That's where confidence is born. That's where everything changes from within. Once you've begun to rebuild that foundation of self-trust, The next step is to construct a daily structure, a simple yet powerful system that keeps your discipline alive. Because willpower is temporary, but structure sustains consistency. Most people lose momentum, not because they lack motivation, but because they have no organized plan to follow. They wake up each day reacting to life instead of leading it. They let emotions dictate actions, moods dictate decisions, and distractions steal hours. But the disciplined person doesn't rely on feelings to take action. They rely on structure. A system designed with intention becomes your greatest ally when enthusiasm fades. This 30-day program isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about establishing a rhythm, a set of non-negotiable actions that guide your focus and energy every single day. The structure revolves around 3 pillars: the mind, the body, and the daily discipline practice. Each one feeds the other, creating balance and momentum that keeps you growing even when you don't feel like it. The goal is to train yourself to operate on principle, not on impulse. Because once you have a structure, you no longer need to negotiate with laziness, distractions, or procrastination. You simply follow the plan, and the plan does the work. For the mind, the task is simple. Feed it daily. 10 pages of reading or 10 minutes of listening to something that challenges your thinking. Why 10? Because it's achievable, and consistency beats intensity every time. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're training your mental appetite. 10 pages a day might not sound like much, but over 30 days, that's 300 pages. That's a full book's worth of wisdom added to your perspective. Most people underestimate the compound power of small intellectual investments. The mind becomes what you feed it, and if you feed it garbage, it produces confusion. Feed it ideas, and it produces vision. Reading daily not only expands knowledge, it sharpens awareness. It upgrades the vocabulary of your thoughts. It makes you more intentional in your actions. The more you learn, the more you begin to think like a leader instead of a follower. For the body, the mission is movement. Discipline can't survive in a sluggish body. You don't have to become an athlete. You just have to move daily. Walk, stretch, do push-ups, dance, jog. Anything that gets the blood flowing and reminds your body that it's alive. Movement affects mood, and mood affects decisions. When your body feels strong, your mind follows. When your energy is up, your focus improves. When you treat your body with respect, your spirit grows sharper. The disciplined person understands that the body is not separate from success. It's the foundation for it. Neglect your body, and even the best mindset will eventually collapse under fatigue and stress. Honor your body, and you give yourself the stamina to follow through on your goals. Then comes the 3rd pillar, the discipline practice. This is where the training truly happens. Every day, choose one act that challenges your comfort zone. It could be waking up 1 hour earlier than usual, taking a cold shower, cutting sugar for the day, or doing a task you've been avoiding. The action itself is less important than what it represents command. You're teaching your mind to obey a decision even when it doesn't feel like it. That's the true essence of discipline. Doing what's necessary, not what's convenient. Each day, you complete your discipline practice, you strengthen your mental grip. You prove that you're in charge of your habits, not the other way around. Now, let's talk about resistance. The invisible wall that shows up the moment you start improving. Around the 3rd or 4th day, that voice in your head starts whispering excuses. You're tired. You deserve a break. One day won't matter. That's the same voice that has killed more dreams than failure ever could. It's subtle, persuasive, logical even. But it's the enemy of consistency. When you hear that voice, don't argue with it. Don't analyze it. Simply act against it. The fastest way to silence the inner critic is to take disciplined action in spite of it. Each time you do, you weaken its power. Eventually, that voice becomes quieter and your confidence becomes louder. The structure of this 30-day program isn't designed to make life harder. It's designed to make decision-making easier. Think about how much energy you waste every day just deciding what to do next. Should I work out today? Should I read? Should I start that project? Every question drains mental power. Discipline eliminates that fatigue by replacing choice with commitment. You don't think about whether to act. You simply do what's on the plan. This is why disciplined people often seem calmer and more focused. They're not battling indecision every morning. They've already decided once, and now they just follow through. The structure also brings awareness to your time. Many people live their days like scattered confetti, busy but directionless. Discipline brings order. When you allocate specific time blocks for your mind, body, and discipline practice, you begin to see how much control you actually have. Even the busiest person can find 30 minutes for self-improvement if they prioritize it. The excuse of, "I don't have time," usually means, "I haven't decided what's important." When you follow a structure, you stop being a victim of time and start becoming its master. Another crucial part of this process is tracking your progress. Every night before bed, take 2 minutes to write what you did well and what you can improve. Don't judge yourself, just observe. Tracking turns your progress into something visible, tangible, measurable. It gives you proof that you're improving, even when the results aren't obvious yet. Discipline loves clarity. When you can see your streak, your efforts, your growth, it fuels your determination to keep going. It also turns your 30-day journey into something more meaningful than a challenge. It becomes a personal transformation journal. As the days go by, something interesting begins to happen. You start noticing how your structure influences everything else. You become less reactive, more intentional. You stop checking your phone the moment you wake up. You start finishing tasks earlier. You start craving productive habits instead of distractions. It's not that life becomes easier. It's that you've become stronger. You've trained your mind to focus, your body to cooperate, and your spirit to lead. And that alignment creates momentum that builds on itself. Discipline in one area spills into others. When you start keeping your mornings structured, your evenings automatically improve. When you move your body, your mind becomes sharper. When you read something positive, your conversations elevate. You begin to see the pattern. Everything is connected. That's why this 30-day structure works. It's not about one big breakthrough. It's about building a balanced rhythm that keeps feeding your growth from all angles. And yes, there will be days when you fall short. You might miss a workout, skip reading, or break a rule. That's okay. Discipline is not about being flawless. It's about being faithful. When you fall, you get back up immediately. The difference between the undisciplined and the disciplined person isn't perfection. It's recovery speed. The undisciplined one takes days to restart. The disciplined one resets within minutes. You learn to say, "All right, that wasn't my best, but I'm still in the game." That mindset ensures long-term consistency. After 2 or 3 weeks of following your daily structure, something deeper begins to form: identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." That shift is subtle but powerful. It means your habits have begun to merge with who you believe you are. You're no longer pretending, you're becoming. And that's the point of this entire system: to transform discipline from something you do into something you are. When your actions and identity align, consistency becomes natural. You don't need constant reminders or motivation. Discipline becomes part of your DNA. This daily structure may look simple, but it's designed to build mastery through repetition. Every time you read, move, and practice control, you're not just improving skills, you're shaping the person you're becoming. And once that person emerges, life begins to respond differently. People notice, opportunities multiply, your confidence deepens. Because the world always makes room for the person who moves with order, clarity, and purpose. That's the power of daily structure. It transforms chaos into control, distraction into direction, and potential into progress. Somewhere around the 3rd week of consistent discipline, something begins to shift. It's not dramatic at first. You don't suddenly wake up to fireworks or applause. It's subtle. A quiet sense that you're no longer fighting yourself. The resistance that once felt heavy begins to lose its grip. Your mornings feel lighter, your decisions simpler, your thoughts clearer. You start to realize that discipline is not a punishment, it's a form of peace. When you keep your word, your mind stops arguing with itself. You no longer waste energy on guilt, delay, or doubt. You start to move with a calm certainty that says, I know where I'm going. That's the first sign of momentum. Not speed, but stability. As the days pass, that stability starts to compound. You begin to notice the small rewards of consistency. Tasks that once felt overwhelming now take half the time. Habits that used to drain you now feel automatic. You wake up with purpose because you know exactly what to do. This is what most people never experience. The rhythm that comes when discipline becomes natural. See, the first phase is about forcing yourself to act. The second is about building structure. But this third phase, the breakthrough, is where you experience freedom. Freedom from procrastination, from confusion, from hesitation. You're not chasing results anymore. You're becoming the kind of person who produces them effortlessly. Momentum is a powerful thing. Once it starts rolling, it begins to pull other areas of your life forward. You find yourself making better decisions without overthinking. You handle challenges with more composure. You notice that people treat you differently, with more respect, more trust, more curiosity. That's because discipline changes your energy. It changes how you show up. You speak with conviction, you walk with purpose, you look more certain even when the path isn't clear. The world senses when someone is grounded in consistency. It rewards that person with opportunities, with influence, with growth. By this stage, something else begins to develop: mastery. Not the kind that comes from talent or luck, but the mastery that's built from repetition. Doing the same simple things every day, not because you have to, but because you choose to. You start understanding the deeper rhythm of improvement, how small daily actions compound into big outcomes. The person who reads 10 pages a day, moves their body, and practices self-control doesn't just get better. They transform. And it's not about the 30 days anymore. It's about who you've become because of those 30 days. You've trained your mind to lead instead of follow, your body to cooperate instead of resist, and your emotions to serve instead of rule. You begin to realize that discipline is less about what you do and more about who you are becoming in the process. Every choice, every repetition, every moment of discomfort has been sculpting your identity. You no longer depend on a motivation because you've developed momentum. You don't wait for the perfect mood or the right conditions. You've proven that success is built in silence, one action at a time, one day at a time. You start to understand that confidence doesn't come from achievements. It comes from alignment. The alignment between what you say, what you do, and who you believe you are. When those three connect, you become unstoppable. In this phase, discipline begins to feel rewarding instead of restrictive. You stop seeing it as something you have to endure and start seeing it as something you get to enjoy. There's pride in showing up. There's satisfaction in finishing what you start. The discomfort that once felt unbearable now feels like progress. You begin to crave that feeling of completion, that inner strength that comes when you push through resistance. The small wins start stacking, and before you realize it, you've created momentum so strong that it carries you forward naturally. This is when habits turn into identity and actions turn into character. And yet, even in this breakthrough phase, you must remain humble. Discipline rewards consistency, but it punishes arrogance. The moment you think you've mastered it, the old patterns will try to creep back in. That's why awareness is still key. You stay alert, not paranoid, but aware of how easily comfort can steal progress. You recognize that momentum is like a fire. It burns as long as you keep feeding it. Stop feeding it, and it fades quietly. So you keep stoking the flame, not out of fear, but out of respect for what you've built. At this point, others may start to notice your transformation. They might ask how you did it, expecting some secret or shortcut. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't one big thing. It was many small things done consistently. It was the willingness to show up when it wasn't exciting, to stay focused when it wasn't convenient, to choose growth when comfort was easier. That's the real breakthrough, realizing that greatness is not an event, but a lifestyle. Discipline becomes who you are, not something you occasionally apply. You'll also begin to notice how your relationship with failure changes. In the past, a setback might have thrown you off for weeks. Now, you see it for what it is, feedback. A reminder, not a reason to quit. The disciplined mind doesn't fear failure because it knows how to recover. You start viewing mistakes as lessons, not losses. Every challenge becomes part of your training. This shift in perspective gives you resilience, a kind of emotional armor that protects you from giving up too soon. You stop seeing discipline as control and start seeing it as empowerment. Around day 25 or 26, something remarkable happens. The system starts running itself. You no longer have to think about it so much. The routines that once required effort now happen automatically. You feel uncomfortable not doing them. That's when you know you've crossed the line from habit to identity. You're not forcing discipline, you've become disciplined. The same energy you once spent on excuses is now fueling execution. What used to drain you now strengthens you. You've built a system inside yourself, one that operates on standards instead of moods. As you reach the end of the 30 days, reflection becomes important. You start to look back not just at what you achieved, but who you became. You see the difference between the person who started and the person standing here now. The one who began the journey might have been uncertain, hesitant, full of doubts. The one who finishes is calmer, sharper, more confident. They've earned something priceless, self-respect, because nothing feels better than knowing you can rely on yourself. You no longer need to convince anyone of your potential. You've proven it through consistent action. Discipline transforms you from the inside out. It changes your posture, your tone, your thoughts. It gives you control over the things that once controlled you. It doesn't just make you productive, it makes you powerful. The person who can command their habits can command their life. The person who can keep promises to themselves can create any future they desire. The person who can stay consistent without applause can achieve in silence what others only dream about. And that's when you realize the greatest reward of this entire blueprint was never about results. It was about rediscovering who you were capable of being all along. The disciplined version of you was always there, waiting to be awakened through effort, commitment, and courage.